Thank you for your patience that allowed me to gather myself. Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation. T-minus 1 hour until the president's first address to Congress since winning re-election. The theme, the renewal of the American dream. Democrats are arguing it's more like the refusal of the American dream. They are in full resist mode. We will watch together and see. What are we looking for? Those attending on the Democratic side, I'm watching them. Why? Because there's supposedly a plan in effect for them. Those attending are inviting alleged victims of Trump's policies, like who? Fired federal workers, farmers impacted by potential tariffs. Remember, they just went into effect, so you can't be an actual victim yet. Not sure how that's going to play. We'll see. What about these reports that many Democrats are threatening to boycott or planning to disrupt the speech by walking out or heckling with props like pocket constitutions and egg cartons? Will any of that be compelling to you? This active enemy vibe that they have going. It was on display today. 20-plus Senate Democrats posted identical videos, reading from the same script, all echoing the refrain, bleep, ain't true, regarding Trump's frequent abuses of mis- and disinformation.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
That ain't true. That's what you just saw.
He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw to vital government programs.
Take a chainsaw, literally, to government programs that people need.
Take a chainsaw to vital government programs for Americans.
Billionaires win, families lose.
Families lose, while billionaires win.
You lose, and billionaires win.
And that is the truth.
So when some chooch with a ski hat and some cans on his head and a big microphone tries to sell you on his podcast, you see the conspiracy? They all were saying the same things. Yeah, it's by design. But I'll tell you what's funny about it. I'm probably dating myself, but it does remind me of the Tell Two Friends commercials for Fabergé when I was growing up. You remember these?
I told two friends about Fabergé organic shampoo with pure wheat germ oil and honey, and they told two friends, and so on. Now you got it, and so on, and so on, and so on.
I don't know why, but it works for me. Criticizing Trump is easy, but is being the party of grievance the way to go for Democrats? Or does it play that they are opposing a disruptor by defending the status quo and the establishment? Not exactly popular with the masses. So, as for tonight, there's a notion going around that Trump is doing something special by addressing Congress. Not really. The first address to Congress after an election is usually not called a State of the Union address because there hasn't been enough time for a president to know what that state is. Most wait until later in the first year. So why isn't Trump? Reportedly because he is nervous about slipping polls. Touch of history. This whole State of the Union thing is a relatively recent thing. Reagan made it a TV event in 1981, started this tradition of addressing Congress in the first few weeks of the presidency. So the fact that this isn't happening, isn't that interesting, okay? What matters is what the president does with the moment. Can he impress with his day-old tariffs against our three biggest trading partners? It's tricky. Because if it's another bluff, as the Commerce Secretary suggested today, what did we get from it? And if they do go into effect for a long time, how can they not mean higher prices for consumers who are already further underwater at the grocery store and the gas pump since Trump 2? Trump says the countries involved aren't doing enough to stem the flow of illegal migrants and fentanyl coming into our country. Okay. But are you willing to pay for their inaction? Because you will pay. Canada and Mexico are both taxing us back, as is China. The tariffs that Trump is putting into effect on them will also lightly inflate prices. Why do I say lightly? Got to see. The longer they exist over time, the more that the importing companies, the more that the manufacturing companies in other countries may juice the price. We'll have to see. Now, we already know the markets, the same ones Trump promised would love him as president, actually hate his moves. All gains since Trump took office, gone. And Americans are not happy. 52% say Trump is failing on prices, because he is. Prices and roundups of illegal entrants, that was the big promise, right? Both have been more talk than walk thus far. The United States deported only about 37,000 migrants in Trump's first month. The monthly average under Biden had been 57,000. Now, be fair, that is because Biden's late moves at the border, which were greatly enhanced by Trump when he took over, have cut the flow dramatically. Okay? So there are less people to cut off as they come illegally across the border. But what about the supposed 15 million to grab that are replete with bad hombres already in the country? Where are those roundups? And why do we keep hearing of people with no criminal record other than how they entered the country getting sent to Gitmo or removed from jobs and families and communities that need them? Remember, those early suggestions that Trump was way up in the polls, the change is why we are where we are tonight, okay? Those high polls are about as real as the idea that prices would already be down. He is, in fact, below in the polls where most recent presidents were at this point. Puts a lot of pressure on the biggest event of this administration to date, which is upcoming. And that will be, in my estimation, the budget negotiation. Can Trump get the right to swallow extending his tax cuts that are not paid for again? They say no. So listen for what Trump says about entitlements. His party wants to cut them. If he says, we're going to get savings from the entitlements from DOGE, I don't buy it. Why? Not only has Mr. Musk been all talk to this point, but he has been wrong as often as he has been right. And we have no idea if whatever he identifies for cuts will be agreed to by Congress. Okay? So if that's where the savings are going to come from, I don't buy it. Won't be enough, won't be real, and likely won't be manifested by Congress. So if Republicans lose just a handful of votes, guess who becomes really relevant? The Democrats. There is a potential enormous opportunity for that party to become more than noise. There is a good chance that the Republicans will come to Hakeem Jeffries for votes. What will he want in return? Strongest ground for Trump tonight? Ukraine. The mineral deal is reportedly about to be signed. That's a good move for the administration. And it's a real problem for Putin. Why? Because the plan is to have American companies on the ground in those areas. And the Russians would be stupid to strike where any American company is. Also, Zelensky seems to be taking the unsubtle hint that he needs to say sorry and do a deal. But the president also has to balance his foreign policy prowess with the reality that the ceasefire with Hamas is likely to fail. The terror group rejected a demand for more hostages. Israel is now blocking new aid going into Gaza, which I still think sends all the wrong messages to the rest of the world. We'll see if Trump repeats that the United States will own Gaza. Joining me to discuss all this, I give you the benefit of right and left coming together to see if they can be reasonable. Two members of Congress that are going to be heading into the chamber for the president's address, okay? One and one. Democrat, member of Congress, Massachusetts, Jake Auchincloss. Republican, member of Congress from Georgia, Dr. Rich McCormick. It's good to have you both. I'm sure you both don't like some aspect of what I just said, but I'm not asking you about that. So let's talk about what you're looking for as you head in. I start with you, Doc. What do you think Republicans want to hear specifically about the upcoming budget negotiations and where the spending cuts that you believe are necessary will come from?
Well, I hope it's an issue that basically covered from a bipartisan approach. I know that's going to be laughable to Jake. I don't think he understands where I'm coming from when I say that. But basically, when I talk about a problem that's going to overwhelm our economy, that's going to devastate our currency standard. We are the world's currency standard because we are the strongest economy in the world. Mm-hmm. If we have $36 trillion of debt and we have an increase in our interest rates, which we will if we don't handle some of that in our spending curve, we'll end up adding another $9 trillion over the next decade to our already blowing up debt of $2 trillion per year. It'll be devastating. We have to do something about it. We have to do something about it. And when I say that this budget is essential to doing the first step in the right direction, it's going to be a small step. I guarantee you. It's not going to be what I want, but at least let's bend the curve. We need to do that together. You think you're going to hear the president, Rich, say, let's look at the entitlements, or you think he's going to try and tell you that DOGE is going to take up that slack? DOGE can't do it by itself. Nope. I'm being honest. I mean, DOGE is a small percentage of our spending. Yep. It's righteous. It's the things that people want to see money stop being spent on. People understand waste, fraud, and abuse, but it's not going to handle Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid the way we need it to be in order to address the real problem we have in America. And by the way, I'm trying to save it. I'm not trying to cut it. I'm trying to keep it from automatic cuts that will happen unless we do something about it.
Jake, let me ask you one style, and then let's get into the substance. Is it true, do you believe that a lot of your members are going to boycott or they're going to pull stunts tonight? And what do you think of that?
I'm not tracking what my colleagues are doing on either side of the aisle. I'm showing up with my guests to hear the president. I do want to respond to what my friend from Georgia said.
Go ahead, bud.
He thinks I'm, dismissive of bipartisanship. Actually, he should look at my track record. I've got bipartisan bills on fentanyl interdiction, bipartisan bills on social media regulation, bipartisan bills on drug pricing reduction, and I'll make him an offer right now. I will work with you in good faith on a bipartisan bill based off this reconciliation package. If you will just commit that you're only going to extend the tax cuts for the middle class, not the tax cuts for the 1%. That'll cut 2/3 of the cost of this bill. I'll work with you on the pay-fors, and it will prevent the federal debt from exploding with the budget resolution that you just voted on. Will you do that with me, Rich? Will you just extend the tax cuts for the middle class, but not the 1%?
The tax cuts that we had during the entire Biden administration, I want to see locked in because that's what benefited the entire economy. But what I'll do is I'll work with you on Social Security, which we have some good bipartisan bills out there already to tackle that. Same thing with Medicare. So, good bipartisan things that exist that both of us can agree on, but we can't make it a partisan issue on the biggest spending items in government.
Well, if you're going to give 50% of the benefits of these tax cuts to the top 1%, which is what the TCJA does, it is going to be a partisan issue because Democrats are not going to agree to cut Medicaid, which covers 40% of kids in this country, provides at-home care for seniors, in order to hook up Elon Musk and his fellow tech billionaires. The top 1% are doing just fine. Why will you not just extend the tax cuts for the middle class? You take the cost of this bill way down, and I will work with you in a bipartisan fashion to pay for it in a responsible manner. Why are you so committed to the tax cuts for the 1%?
It's first of all, I know that the 1% don't pay taxes like we do. You're talking about more billionaires give more money to the Democrat Party for a reason. Quite frankly, the billionaires know how to hide their money very well. When you talk about taxing money that's already in the bank, that's not a good way to pay for anything because it never happens. These guys find a way around taxes all the time. It's about spending. Our government spending is what put us in this ridiculous position. You can take all the billionaires' money in the whole world, and you're not going to pay for the amount of debt we have.
That wasn't an answer. It sounds like you're saying that we should fund the IRS to do better audits on the rich, which I agree with you on, and I regret that the Republicans repeatedly axed our IRS audits because every IRS agent pays 10x their salary back in tax refunds from the wealthy. So that's another bipartisan issue that we can work on. But what I'm still not hearing from you is why tax cuts for the rich are more important than health care for kids and new moms. Because that is what the president is talking about tonight with the joint address. Forget about DOGE. DOGE is a magic trick. It's a distraction. Cutting the Office of Pharmaceutical Quality in St. Louis to review the safety of prescription drugs does not save anybody money, and it does not save the government money.
All right, Rich, let me give you a last word. Jake, let him get in there.
So I would just like to say, when it comes to DOGE, the things that have been highlighted, everybody agrees that there is egregious spending in the government. That's never going to be an issue.
He's making it up.
I think. But when you talk about locking in tax cuts that have benefited the American public, that have brought back more revenue through incremental increase in business and the economic engine of America, I think that's a good thing. But we can talk more. I'm willing to work with you across the aisle to get some things done that we have to do to save this.
Look, I know that this is frustrating to you guys, but I got to tell you something. I have been doing this longer than both of you combined, okay? Which is a sad commentary on my age and stage. But to hear you guys discuss civilly the differences in approach to what you understand are common concerns is a gift to the audience, and it is in rare supply. I look forward to continuing this. I know you guys have to get in there tonight. There's some points, I definitely think when we get into this budget negotiation, the case is going to have to be made that those tax cuts did anything on their own without the pandemic spending, Doc, because the pandemic spending juiced the economy after the cuts. But we'll have the conversation. And Jake, when you say you're going to work on cuts, Democrats say it, but they don't often do it. So we'll see. You're the new breed, so we'll see what happens. Jake Alkenclaus, I appreciate you, and thank you for showing up tonight. Not showing up, poor form. Dr. Rich McCormick, always a pleasure. Love having you guys on together. I'm telling you, it's my favorite thing that I do. It's true. I even wore a tie for it. Whatever was better than All right, so let me bring in two guys I also love to have at the same time for some perspective on what's going on tonight. And I hope they agree with me about this thing. One of them will for sure. Bill O'Reilly is here and the host of the Stephen A. Smith Show, Mr. Stephen A. Smith. It's good to see you both. How you doing, handsome? Bill, seriously, you and I have been doing this a very long time. Very rare that you see guys willing to come on together and talk the talk like these guys just have. I really think it's the best thing that we're doing here at NewsNation, other than bringing in big fish like you guys to come on and give a take on things. To see them talk it out, it's rare but precious, no?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the conversation, but the thing I like best is that you're turning into Elmer Gantry. I love that. Do you know who Elmer is? Do you know who Elmer Gantry is?
I do not.
No, but I got to believe it's not flattering. Who is he?
No, you guys should look him up.
Well, I will
Elmer
as soon as you
Gantry
tell me who he was.
Yeah, he was an evangelical whose enthusiasm overwhelmed the audience, and he led people into agreements about morality and theology.
I feel like he probably led to like mass murders or something. There's got to be a downside. If he's saying that I remind him,
Bill is saying
it can't be good for me, is what I'm trying to say.
In this regard, you're doing the right thing. In the movie, Burt Lancaster played.
Now we're talking.
Yeah,
I get likened to him a lot.
And he lifted weights too. So you guys have a lot in common.
Listen, anytime we're seeing civility in an age where we see our elected officials acting like children on far too many occasions, it is a beautiful thing. And the reason why we say that is because guys that are in the weeds, that know policy, that know politics the way that you two do, one of the things that happens is that there's a detachment from others that are in that world from the average American viewer. When you're out there trying to make ends meet, pay your bills, mortgages, car payments, rent, food, et cetera, a lot of times people don't have neither the time and in some cases the interest to know all that they need to know because it brings them down. And they're relying on the politicians and the pundits to bring some level of civility, explain it, so they don't have to go about the business of putting in that extra work to comprehend and dissect what the hell is going on. So when you see two politicians on the air like that, talking civilly, one has one side, the other has the other side, and they're saying, wait a minute, I can make this work for you. We can curb spending. We could cut taxes. We could address Social Security's issues. We could address other issues. We can make this work. That elevates the level of confidence the American citizen and the American public has. And it elevates faith. And as a result, you're able to believe to some degree more than you're accustomed to doing. I know that matters. I think Trump knows it matters too, Bill. And that's one of the reasons he wanted this opportunity tonight. What do you think he wants to do with it?
All right, a couple of things. Number one, Stephen A. is wearing the same outfit he wore in The View today.
Yeah, I haven't had time to change. I haven't been home. I haven't been home.
Yeah, I know.
Don't bring up my suit game.
I don't know what he's thinking.
No, it's the A game right here.
What he's thinking. I don't know, Bill. I don't know what you're thinking right now.
And those ladies love Stephen A. He was bedazzling them with Democratic Party with no leadership. I thought Whoopi Goldberg was going to cry. So, Trump tonight. I would like to see Donald Trump calm things down a bit. That's not going to happen. But I would like to see it. But most importantly, to reassure the American people, all of them, not just MAGA people, that what he's doing has an end game that's going to benefit them. So you just heard the congressman from Massachusetts say that the Republicans want to cut Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid. That's not true. That's not true. Okay? It's simply false. And now if he had been debating me, I would have called him on it, and it would have been as civil as him debating the guy from Georgia. Because if you look at the bill that was passed in the House, they're increasing Medicaid payments 2%, not 9%, which was the Biden situation. It's not a cut. And this kind of deception happens all the time.
Now, that's why you got to know your facts also. But also, they're also increasing defense spending, which I think is crazy.
You absolutely have to be on it. And you have to, if you do microeconomics, the people with the most money in their pocket spend the most. It drives
That is true, but they pay the most taxes also. But you heard what McCormick said, that the rich people find a way of getting away from taxes, which was his rationale for wanting to keep the cuts in place, which was a little weird. I got to take a break.
Well, then simplify the tax code.
I'm with you with that.
Simplify the tax code.
And I got to tell you, when we come back from commercial break,
I like it.
I need to get on Bill O'Reilly. I'm upset at something about Bill O'Reilly, and it's time that Bill O'Reilly gets called on the carpet for it. This is my buddy. He's become my buddy, but I got to call him out of there. I know we got a commercial.
Are there going to be ramifications and repercussions?
It might be. It might be. It might be. Somebody got to get on Bill O'Reilly.
Somebody got to 35 seconds. O'Reilly's sweating like a farm animal.
He is. He does look like he's sweating. He really does.
You're not supposed to be doing this.
Monday, two of the most prolific voices in media meet again. Chris Cuomo, Tucker Carlson. The conversation continues, and no topic is off limits.
Whether you like it or not, whether you mean it or not, you wind up playing the game.
Don't miss a special edition of Cuomo. Monday, 8, 7 Central, only on NewsNation. News for all Americans.
All right, thank you for joining me for News Nation's coverage with our special guest, Bill O'Reilly, Stephen A. Smith. Dusty in the control room is on Trump watch. When he starts making his way to Congress, we'll start monitoring it live, see if he says anything. Bill O'Reilly likened me to a fictional character named Gantry, who is, quote, a morally corrupt preacher.
Wow.
Bill, you said it wasn't an insult.
That's what you said.
That's what you said. That is a distortion. Is that Wikipedia?
No, it was the Gantry fan club.
Yeah. No, he was an evangelical, pound the pulpit kind of guy that did some good. But,
I'll take it.
A lot of people didn't like him, kind of like you.
A lot of people don't like me, but that's a reasonable assessment. Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
Was a little sharp as we went into break. Why, sir?
We have to get on Bill O'Reilly. We truly, truly do. We appreciate,
if you insist,
we appreciate the decades of his great work and what have you. And we're looking at the world right now as we see it with Donald Trump in office. All right, tariffs imposed against Mexico, China, and Canada. You got him, saying they ain't going to deliver any more weapons to Zelensky and Ukraine. We've got all of that going on. Inflation hasn't dissipated, at least not to our satisfaction. We've seen all of this stuff going on, which leads to angst and a level of discomfort, right? What does Bill O'Reilly come on national television and say? He said he'd like to see Donald Trump calm the waters.
That's what he said.
But he's not going to do it, but he'd like to see it. Isn't it Bill O'Reilly that told us he's known Donald Trump for decades? Isn't it Bill O'Reilly that's
very influential?
He's very influential. Isn't it Bill O'Reilly who prides himself on being influential? Isn't it Bill O'Reilly who said, you said, that's my guy. I'm tight with Donald Trump. Tight. I can talk to him. I'm saying to myself, nobody's asking you to go into the Oval Office and write policy, But nobody's asking. What we're saying is, where's Bill O'Reilly's influence when it comes to this?
That's
How come he can't get Donald Trump to calm down?
Reasonable.
I mean, why is that too much to ask?
Maybe he likes the chaos.
I think Bill O'Reilly likes chaos. That's right.
Doesn't love the
Maybe he's instigating. Maybe he's assisting Donald Trump in instigating.
Maybe there should be a Killing Bill O'Reilly book in the series.
Okay.
The Manchurian candidate. I tried to leap the White House fence today, but the Secret Service grabbed me. Donald Trump does what Donald Trump wants. He's well aware that I believe he should reassure the folks. That would be the best play tonight. And very specifically spell out why he's doing the tariffs. He's going to get the deal as I predicted, and I gave Dusty a clip that said Trump is going to get the mineral deal because that's how he negotiates, Stephen A. He goes in, he creates all kinds of chaos and swirl, and he walks out with what he wants. That's it.
The mineral deal.
So what am I supposed to do?
The mineral deal, while I am not impressed that Bill arrived at the same conclusion that most did, which was that it was going to happen.
It was going to happen.
It is a savvy deal Two reasons. One, it does reassure Americans that they're getting something back.
That's right. That's the big thing for me.
And he tapped into something that has always been felt but not articulated. Mm-hmm. The second thing is the deal involves putting American concerns, corporations, in those areas, which are all in the battlefield area.
Which, by the way, lives up to his mantra about America first. But
Russia can't strike there.
I understand that. Russia can't strike there. That's a big, big deal. And the bottom line is this. If you're talking about the American people getting some money back, nobody can refute that. I don't understand how a single American citizen can argue with Donald Trump. I'm not trying to agree with the man too much, but damn it, when he's right, he's right. When he's sitting across from these folks and he's asking about why do we give so much? Where's the rest of Europe? What's your contribution going to be? How come we have to give so much and get so little in return? We're tired of getting hosed. And it does make you look at the other party and say, you do need to explain why we've been getting hosed for so long at such an inordinate amount of money. It does. He does bring attention to that, and I don't think anybody should nor can refute that.
And it does seem that Zelensky got the message he has to come to the table. I don't understand the tactic, but Bill, to your point, it's not my position to judge his style and his tactics. It's only to judge the results. I don't get trashing Ukraine and painting Zelensky as a dictator and a kleptocrat. I don't get it. I don't know why he needed to do that.
I kind of do now, because you want Zelensky out if he's not going to be cooperative.
Right.
Just he's been alluding to, they need a new president. Get him up out of there. The people need to turn against him, etc. If you're doing something like that, then it's not just a war that he has to worry about. He has to worry about being ostracized. And I don't care who you are in terms of your patriotism or what have you. All of us are individuals, especially those leaders. And when you're thinking about, when you're threatened with being ostracized, you never know what that will force you to capitulate to. So I do understand that tactic.
The guy who, I don't know what he was dressed in, but he just ran out into the vehicle from the White House was Elon Musk. So we knew he was going to be in attendance tonight. Here's the president right now with the first lady, preparing to leave. They thought he might stop and say something. Looks like he's going right into the beast. There he goes. He's going to say plenty tonight. Bill, Ukraine, did Trump play it to his advantage, and what happens next?
Number one, I was ready for fisticuffs with Stephen A., and all I got was, hey, you got to tell Trump to calm down. That's all I got.
All I'm saying is you should have more influence. You should have. Well, my A game.
I should. Absolutely, you should.
You pick parts. You don't do it. You don't go 100 miles an hour all the time. You know when to speed up and when to slow down.
I mean, it seems like you're a little too comfortable with him dividing the country, Bill. I mean, that's what it really is.
No. It's not sitting there with the View ladies. I mean, you got a big fence.
Hold on.
You got guys
You've
with
been on The View, Bill.
All right.
More times than me.
You've been on The View, Bill.
More times than me, I might add.
Yeah, but that was Barbara Walters when it was sane. It wasn't now.
No, I've seen you on The View, is all I'm saying. And you were a hail fellow well met.
Different kind.
Hail fellow well met.
Well, I was on this. I was on this, so it was definitely sane today.
Oh.
Ukraine is not the most important thing tonight. I know that sounds a little unusual, but it isn't. The U.S. economy is. So when Stephen A. just made the point that it's good that we understand the big picture, the tariffs are almost the same thing as the mineral deal. Because if you look, and Kudlow gave me a chart today, at all the countries that we trade with, we get hosed by every single one of them. There's not one country in the world where we get an equal trade agreement. And Trump, that drives him nuts. So what he's basically trying to do is break these countries down to better deals, and he'll get most of them. You're going to see little Justin and a lady in Mexico within a week. They'll come up with some kind of deal, all right? That is advantageous to the United States. But the big thing is, and nobody reports this, Cuomo, I want you to write this down now. Trump doesn't want to do business overseas. He wants all the business to come back to America. And the estimate is, in his first year, Trump's going to bring $2 trillion worth of business into America.
He said that the first term also. He doesn't even make his stuff in America. He makes all his own stuff in China, Bill.
That's what I'm saying.
We heard this before.
I don't care what he does.
How you going to say you don't care what he does when you just articulated that he's bringing jobs to America? But he makes his own stuff in it. He has his own company making stuff in China. But you're saying that he's going to be here? Doesn't make any sense.
Look, I care about the guys who live on the street and work for a living, not where Trump does business. I want more business in America because that provides higher paying jobs and brings prices down. If Trump wants to buy a Ferrari, what do I care? I don't care.
We're not challenging what you want. What we're saying is if he does business himself that way, who's to say he's going to do that for other companies in America? Now, I believe that he's going to have businesses originated from America doing business elsewhere and obviously profiting from that. I think that that's something that he will continue to facilitate, my personal opinion. But of course he'll do something here.
J.D. Vance is coming in. They're starting to assemble in the room.
Guys.
I get that you know him, but he didn't do it the first time. He promised it didn't happen.
No.
And the reason the jobs aren't here, Bill, you know this, but just so that the audience is aware, I will, but just so people remember, the reason the jobs aren't here is because the companies go where the labor is cheap. Okay? That's why.
That's right.
So what is he going to do?
And he's making it more difficult for those people to make a profit. Look, I was in the cabinet meeting. The companies themselves, Cuomo, have to pay the tariffs. They pay them.
The importers pay it, and they pass it along in prices.
The companies pay it. All right? No. The companies, when they ship in, they have to pay it at the port of entry.
The importers.
Nobody understands this. I was in the cabinet meeting on January 2nd in Palm Beach when these tariffs were discussed.
Okay.
I know exactly. I was sitting next to Lutnick.
I believe you.
All right? He wanted to borrow my water, and I wouldn't let him.
That sounds right.
I know exactly what they're trying to do. But as I told you on the last program, I don't know if it's going to be successful. I don't know. But I know what they're trying to do.
And why do you question whether or not it's going to be successful?
Because it's a very complicated dance they're doing. And if the American public wants to buy Canadian bacon, and the Canadian bacon is twice as expensive as it was under Biden.
Which means that the companies aren't paying the tariff, by the way.
No, but they can raise the prices of the bacon to cover their expense.
Exactly.
That's what the companies do.
Exactly. We agree.
That's going to reverse back on Trump.
I agree. Exactly.
If the consumer prices go up.
That's why Lutnick.
I just wouldn't buy Canadian bacon. I would buy bacon from Iowa. That's how I would combat it.
You can buy it right on Long Island, by the way.
Bacon.
You should shop local. We have bacon out by where we live. The Lutnick today said that the tariffs may be released tomorrow. And the reason he said that is because they directionally they go one way the longer they're in place, which is that the prices get more and more. Are people finding out?
That's not the reason he said it, Cuomo.
Yeah, no, I got it. But it's somewhat contradictory to what you're saying.
No, it's simple. Okay. He said it because the stock market tanked again today. And the futures, if you check them right after Elmer Gantry, are way up.
I told you it was an insult.
This is all a big game in the sense
that Wall Street's definitely a game. They sell off and then they buy back on. There's no question about it. That's why I don't like this metric.
I don't know if game is the correct G word. It could be gamble. And the reason I say that is this. You're banking on ultimately you forcing others to suffer so they'll capitulate and that America will be able to
absorb the
interim. And to me, America is very, very spoiled. And as a result of that, I don't know if America would be willing to do so and be patient enough to do so for Trump to get away with this for but so long.
Depends on what the price of the time is. If prices go up, look, Bill O'Reilly had it like a mantra when he was coming on the show during the campaign. Groceries and the gas pump. Groceries and the gas pump. And it worked. I believed that they were offering a distorted picture of what caused inflation and Trump's role in that and also where inflation was and what it meant. But it didn't matter. The prices are up. Everybody sees it. It's not just eggs. Eggs are like $10, $11 in some places. But it's not just eggs and gas.
That's the bird flu.
Yes, but you know what? The bird flu was going on during Biden also, and you didn't give him the benefit of it.
And you blame the shiniest object in front of you, and who shines more than Trump?
I think the ladies on The View said Trump brought the bird flu in.
Okay.
I'm not
going to get on the ladies on the bird. I'm going to be kind to the ladies on The View. You've been getting on them too much, Bill. Calm down.
Yeah. We'll see him when he's on there, though.
Be nice.
So, look, Bill, I got to tell you something. I was surprised that Trump asked for this opportunity tonight. And I'll tell you why. This is not his strong point, okay? He is not the explainer-in-chief. He is not a charmer in these settings. He's not a messaging master to the masses, right? And he is directionally in a tough spot with his polling. And that's what I'm told precipitated wanting this opportunity tonight. So is there more downside than upside for him when he starts saying what he's always said, blaming the Democrats? They'll help him out if they say anything stupid tonight and act like jackasses. But
yes,
you
I agree
think
with that.
He's got trouble. The president is arriving right now, so we got time.
I mean, Stephen Miller is a good speechwriter. I assume that the speech will be heavy on look at the border, okay? Look at the DEI stuff I knocked out. Doge is saving this much money. I expect that it'll be heavy. Now, if he gets heckled, that'll be interesting. And I'm sure I got the message to him. That's right. It's good for him.
Yeah, very.
Right.
All he has to say is look at him and go, look, I expected you to do that, but I have important things to discuss with the American people, so, okay? And that's it. Don't personalize it. It should be
Bill,
all policy, no personal.
He will not stop there if that happens, and we all know that. However, I still think it will work for him, because I think if they really want to get him, they should sit there, shut up, be quiet, and let him ramble, because speech-wise, he is awful. Awful. Listening to him, I mean, watching paint dry is more entertaining than watching Trump give a speech. He is awful. He's at his best. He's at his best.
You're talking about on prompter.
That's what I'm talking about, on prompter. He's at his best when he speaks extemporaneously. When you know what, just off the cuff, and he's just going at, especially if he's going at somebody. That's when he's at his best. When he's at his worst is when he's on prompter, reading a speech that's written by Stephen Miller or somebody else. It's the worst thing you could get if you're Trump. All they got to do.
But he's never going to stay on the speech.
The Democrats
he always goes off.
I'm saying, but I'm not saying that. But when he rambles, he still hurts himself. The Democrats have to be smart for change. Be quiet. Don't do anything to provoke him. Just sit there. And let him talk. He'll hurt himself.
I hear Schumer's going to cook an omelet right there in the House floor with the eggs thing.
Well, if they
got a Corona and a carton of eggs that had chooch. All right, right. I got to go to break.
By the way, 22 senators saying the same message at the same time. You actually thought that was going to resonate? That was another dumb idea by the Democrats. Dumb.
I'll tell you what.
Ineffective.
Listen, I think being the party of grievance is already taken, okay? And they seem like they're defending the status quo and the establishment at a time in American history where people want disruption. And I think it's a bad look. I think they got to get in the business of better.
Cuomo. Maybe we don't want disruption. Maybe we want them disrupted.
Right?
Hey,
just them.
Let me take it away for Dusty. If you enjoyed these two segments, we're going to do this live on March 30th, Westbury, Long Island, the Three Americans live show. Now, I guarantee you I will be better dressed than both of those men, and I will be smarter. Okay? You got to come see us. Go to BillO'Reilly.com. We'll click you right over. Ticketmaster, whatever. Don't miss it. Better than a Taylor Swift concert.
I'll make sure you can go to StephenASmith.com as well to click right over. But let me say this real quick. I don't mind learning from Bill O'Reilly, just like I don't mind learning from Chris Cuomo. There is no chance in hell you will be dressed better than me. Ooh, boy. No chance at all. And that's okay. It's okay, Bill. It's okay.
I'm going to come like Adam Sandler at the Oscars. I'm going to come with the hoodie on. I'm going to look like Senator Fetterman. All right, I got to jump. I got to get a break in. Bill O'Reilly, thank you very much. Stephen A. Smith, love it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you both. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. When we come back, the president wanted this opportunity. I got to tell you, I was surprised by it. So he's got the at-bat. Let's see what he does. Let's see what he does tonight. We'll watch it together. The polls are going the wrong way. Can he make a change in real time? You'll see. Welcome back to News Nation and our coverage of President Trump's first address to Congress since taking back the White House. He wanted this opportunity tonight. What will he do with it? Now, a big topic is going to be his use of tariffs. Commerce Secretary came out today and said, they may be erased tomorrow. Why? Price pressure. I want to discuss this. Let's bring in our guests. I only have one topic that I want to talk to about this, okay? We have the professor of economics and public policy at the University of Michigan. The guy's been blowing up on Twitter. That's where I saw him, Justin Wolfers. He is so good at explaining and fact-checking, really good. And the man who literally wrote the book on Trumponomics, that's what the book is called, former Trump senior economic advisor, Stephen Moore. I have one question. It's good to see you both. Nice to meet you, Professor Wolfer. I hope I get to have you on more. Stephen, I love having you. I'm going to let you talk to each other. One topic, okay? Stephen, you start. The proposition is this. The reason Lutnick said they're going to relax the tariffs is because they will absolutely raise prices for people, and that's bad for Trump. So this is a bluff that hopefully gets him a better deal, but if they stay in place, it's a problem. What's your take? And then, Professor, you answer him.
Well, I'll go first, and I'll simply say, Chris, that you've got your economics pretty right, that if you put a tariff on something, it's going to cost more to the consumer. There's very little doubt about that. Now, Trump uses, as you've been discussing previously, Trump uses these tariffs as a negotiating tactic. It looks like, by the way, it may be that Canada's already blinked on this one. We'll see if that happens. But remember, so much of the rest of the Trump agenda, reducing tax rates on businesses, deregulating the economy, the idea of producing more oil and gas, those are deflationary. So I think overall, Trump's agenda will reduce prices.
The thing I love about this is the first time I've ever seen Stephen Moore go on television and defend a tax hike. Tariffs are a tax. They're a tax on imports. This is, in fact, the largest tax hike in the United States since 1993. Of course, there's going to be enormous economic implications coming out of this. One I really want to highlight for your viewers. Tariffs are a tax on imports. We all buy maple syrup. We all buy avocados. We're all going to pay some of the bill. In return, we're going to get a tax cut for the very wealthy. This is the reverse Robin Hood. This is a form of tax that takes from the poor. It's going to take the revenue and give it to the rich. So 90% of Americans are going to end up on the wrong side of these tariff hikes.
Stephen?
No, that's just factually incorrect. So if you look at what happened, and I have a personal stake in this because I helped write the very first version of the Trump tax cut. We saw, gigantic growth in the economy. We created more jobs. Everybody did better off. The professor's right that if we don't pass this tax extension, we'll face the biggest tax increase in the history of probably the world, a $4 trillion tax increase. It's really essential. Now, yes, we cut the corporate tax rate so we can make America more competitive. We brought a lot of capital and jobs back to the United States. But here's a statistic that I think is amazing. The average family in the United States saved $3,000 a year. That's huge. They're not going to pay $3,000 more in tariffs.
Okay, so, Professor, let's end it on this. One, is that true because of the pandemic spending, that people had more money? And two, the idea that more jobs came home and there was more revenue for corporations because of the tax cuts. Take those two on.
Yep, look, you don't need to talk to an economics professor to know what to think about these tariffs. Are they going to be good for American business? Fortunately, we've got a market where people place big bets on that. It's called the stock market. And what we saw yesterday and today was the stock market tanked. People who were betting millions of dollars on the future profitability of American corporations believe that imposing these tariffs make American corporations less profitable. And then you add on the rest of us are going to end up paying higher prices too. That's the test of your theory. It doesn't work and it hurts Americans.
Well, the futures are up. So those gamblers on Wall Street love to play it both ways. The rest of us can't, right? So Professor, just address the idea of the tax cuts brought more corporate activity and jobs back into the United States under the first Trump administration. Yes or no?
I mean, there's just not much evidence either way on that particular point. Stephen can claim otherwise with all the confidence in the world, but that's a talking point, not a fact.
All right, gentlemen.
Yeah, it is. Well, we had.
Go ahead. Make your last point, Stephen.
Well, look, we do know we brought about $2 trillion of capital in the United States, and we know that was meant to create jobs. But I'd simply say this: if the professor were right, because we did have tariffs in Trump's first term, and guess what? When we had those tariffs in Trump's first term, we didn't have any inflation. We had one of the lowest inflation rates ever.
We had tariffs on a very small number of goods.
Right.
Remember washing machines? What happened to the price of washing machines?
They went up.
They went up.
I know. I screwed up when I was putting mine in because I don't understand electrical, and I went through 3 of them. They definitely went up. Stephen Moore, thank you very much. Professor Wolf, it's really good to have you. I appreciate your addition to the dialogue. I look forward to having you on again. Stephen, always a pleasure. Thank you both. All right, I wanted to cut that off because I wanted to get a perspective for you guys that we don't usually do. It's usually people on the inside, right? Or in this case, people with specific acumen. That's why I wanted the professor and Stephen to talk a little bit about the economic realities. But what about everybody else and how they're experiencing this? As we wait for the president to come in, I want to bring in Mike Mendenhall. Now, I came to learn about him on Instagram, okay? And Mark Mendenhall has great ideas about what life and politics mean for just people who are living it and watching it, not just insiders. It's good to see you, Mr. Mendenhall.
How are you, Chris?
So, what do you make of the state of play and what the president needs to achieve tonight?
I don't know why he doesn't just start the speech with a simple thing, just to talk to every dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert like me and just say one simple thing, steal it right from some 80s movies. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Why can't someone just say, why can't Trump say that? So everybody who's reporting how the stocks are going up, the stocks are going down, things are going to get better, things are going to get worse, it's going to cost their, you know what? Nobody knows. Those 2 guys you just had on, they didn't know. They just said, well, the stock market's playing it one way, they're playing another. You know why? Because they don't know. I don't know. You don't know. All we know is that when the economy is like an aircraft carrier going, 30 knots or however fast they go. And Trump says, as soon as I'm in charge, I'm going to turn that aircraft carrier around. And the second he gets in office, what do the Democrats say? Hey, it's still going forward. The aircraft carrier is still going. Yeah, I'm slowly turning it, man. Those things don't turn on a dime.
Well,
give me a second.
A little bit of it is just political.
Out there in the world, we understand that. Prices are
I know you do.
I'm trying to build a house next year. It's going to cost me a bunch more because of what Trump's doing. So it's better for the economy overall. It's better for America overall. All right, I'll pay a little more. Sorry, I got in just at the wrong time. That's what's going to happen. You plugged your washer and dryer in at the wrong time. The prices went up. So what?
Well, I screwed up the electrical. Really, that was an unforced error. But I think that it's a political price for him saying that he would fix things right away. And I think that people, to your point, get that you say one thing when you're campaigning and another thing when you're governing because things aren't as simple as you make them. But in terms of where people who voted for Trump are, in terms of whether they feel they're getting the return on that vote investment, what do you think? Supreme Court's entering right now, by the way. They're in attendance for tonight. Go ahead.
I think that we all know, I think everybody who voted for Trump gets it. It's like, okay, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Just say it. Just Trump should come out, start his speech tonight saying, listen, quit writing all this stuff in the papers. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Come see me in 18 months. Come see me in 2 years. After we've got things turned, yes, it's going to get worse. Everybody I talk to says, yeah, well, and the tariff discussion is so weird to me, and we don't have time to get into that. But if you don't know and you're waiting, it's like, okay, well, things are going to get worse, prices are going to go up, then they're going to come down. We kind of all figured there was going to be some things that didn't go quite right. Not everything is going to go perfect. Not every decision he makes and Vance makes and the border makes, not all going to go perfect. I'm willing to accept that. Let me give him the benefit of that. Let's see where we're at. I'm not going to pick him apart and make him change every 10 minutes as he goes along. Let's wait and see. Everybody's got to know this is going to take some time to correct this thing. The aircraft carriers don't turn on a dime. Tell me I'm wrong, Chris.
You're totally not wrong about aircraft carriers or the economy or policy. He hasn't even gotten into his budget negotiation yet, and I think he's going to have a really big battle with his conservatives. But to keep it outside, to keep it macro on this, from where people are watching this, what do you expect or want from the Democrats?
Could they be quiet for 5 seconds and not pick apart everything? Every time something goes wrong at the border, they find one little thing wrong with the border, one thing wrong with the tariff, and they hold it up like that's the normal and it's going on everywhere and the sky is falling. You think they would learn after the election? You can't just keep going out there and telling us the sky is falling. How many times can the little boy cry wolf before we go, we don't believe you anymore? I don't even think anyone's listening to them anymore. For once, how about just either be quiet or go along? One of the two, but just this noise. It's the same stuff that lost the election. They're still doing it. I don't get it. I don't understand it, Chris. It blows my mind. I just sit there with popcorn going, you're still on the same playbook. The Democratic playbook, page 35. You're reading the same playbook from the 90s.
I got to tell you, I disagree. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what you know. A lot. People should listen to your podcast. They should check you out on Instagram, Gen X Talks, Gen X Speaks, whatever it is. You'll find them. Just look for the beard. The point is, you're a smart guy. You're a critical thinker. I love our conversations. There's so many people out there like you that are disgusted with being sold BS, and they just want it told to them the way it is because you live it every day in the rest of your life. Why can't you live it in your politics? Thank you for joining me. I hope to do it again.
Thank you.
Say hello to the family, all 8 of your kids. You're a huge stakeholder. You're like four families in one. Thank you very much for joining me.
I appreciate the chance.
I look forward to seeing what you think about tonight. All right, we're just minutes away from President Trump's address to Congress. He wanted this opportunity.